Hey guys, and welcome back. Dev Spider here. Today we're gonna get a new video. It's going to be a quick video on tips and tricks, or at least I'm gonna make it as fast as we can do this. So let's go ahead and dive off into this. I know a lot of people have been asking me to make one of these. I get questions all the time in Discord, on YouTube, and in Steam from people messaging me privately and also just in the forums. So we're gonna get started. First things first, one of the main tips you need to know is to save or autosave. It's probably the most important thing when it comes to playing the infected. So if you are starting a brand new game and you want to enable autosave, once you select the file that you want to load, right here at the top of the screen you'll see enable autosave, and you can enable and disable it right here with this drop down. Alright, I don't like to enable mine in case I make mistakes or something happens. I just remember to save because that's what I'm used to, because back in the earlier versions you did not have this option. So besides that, the next way to save is to hit escape and then save before you log out of the game and everything else. Like I said, always remember to save and save often. So I'll show you that in just a second, and then we get in the game and we'll be right back. So if you're in game and you just finished that, say that massive build like we have here, or you've got like a village or something, you just finished something really important, maybe you just finished clearing one of the villages or just finished gathering a bunch of ore. If you need to save while in game and you're not using and counting on autosave, you're going to hit escape and then you'll hit save right here, and you'll see like in the top left of the screen it'll say saving. And once that's done, the game is saved. So like I said, guys, and then you get a warning message before you quit the game. So if you hit quit, it'll say, are you sure you wish to quit? Have you saved? Make sure you save before you hit yes, because there is no autosave unless you have it enabled, and that is going to be tip number 1. Alright guys, and so tip number 2 is going to be how to toggle on your UI interface, or your user interface, to see your health and stamina. So if you want to know how to display your health and stamina on the screen at all times, press the G key as in golf. So if you look in the bottom right of the screen, you'll see our weight, health, stamina, and sun resistance displayed. We're currently standing in the sun, so we are taking sun damage. We have taken health and damage, but we can heal that up just by eating. So if that ever goes away, when you've just loaded into a game, you've died. I think when you sleep it does it. It used to do it when you open and close chests and things, but I believe that's been patched. So like I said, if that ever goes away, just press G as in goal. Tip number 3, if you want to see all of your stats, maybe you have a status notification saying that you're thirsty, hungry, bleeding, something else, you can press and hold the F key as in foxtrot, and that will display all of your stats. Your health, stamina, thirst, proteins, carbs, fats, vitamins, sun resistance, energy, what day you are in the game. As you can see at my top right screen, we're on day 375 on this save. It's currently 8 p.m. It tells you what month it is, what season you're currently in. All useful information. And to do that, again, is just to press and hold the F key as in foxtrot. Okay, so moving along, tip number 4, if you're unable to find fruits or vegetables, perhaps you're having a hard time finding animals, or you don't know what you're looking for because it's your first time playing, there is a way to do that. The dev does not like it when we share this or do this way, because it hides the good looking graphics. I don't like playing that way because it doesn't look good. But if you're struggling, winter's coming up, you need to get stuff planted, or you can't find something, you can press escape, go to options, go to foliage density. Usually when you start playing, it'll be like on epic, high, or medium. Go ahead and put that on low. Hit apply, hit OK, hit escape, and you'll see that all the ground foliage is gone. This is an easy way to find sticks and vegetables, fruits, small stones. So as you can see, anything that's collectible is like obvious. So there's a small stone there. You can see a cucumber plant over there. And it just run around for a second and you'll find anything and everything you need. All the plants, onions, melons, watermelons, and you'll just see them popping out and sticking up everywhere. So with the road here, there's another cucumber plant right there. There's a potato plant right here. So like I said, if you're having a hard time finding things, winter's coming close, you're in a bind, you need something, you can just do that. You know, as always, go up to them, right click, hit harvest, and you can get those materials. Tip number 5. This is a good one for anybody who's also just starting out, and this might be good for some of you old school players. So if you need to chop down a tree really fast, you see we have 2 trees right here of equal size, and we're currently holding onto an iron axe. So if you walk up to it, this is the regular speed to chop down a tree, even with an iron axe. Alright, so you see that took a second. Now there's a faster way. So you see this tree, same size as the last one. So we're going to knock it down. And you see how that was almost instant. And the way to do that is, our axe is currently on our first slot in the inventory. So if we swap to our other axe, which is on 2, and then we go back to 1, so that just to show you guys that those are the hotkeys. So you walk up to the tree, and 1 is the hotkey for the iron axe. and then you left mouse button to swing your axe. So you just rapidly press between the two, and that's how you almost instantly cut down a tree, just to save you some time. And it's, if you'll see, we'll use the stone axe on this one. It's almost the same exact speed. Alright, and again, you just toggle back and forth as fast as you can between the hotkey that you're using and the left mouse button. So number 6 on the list is going to be how to identify an ore site. So when you find your ore sites, if you look at the map, it's going to be where these pickaxes are located at. So there's a ton of them on the map. The way you can do this is get your pickaxe out, find one of these large boulders on the site, go ahead and just smash it. And these should drop usually a bunch of small stone. If not, it'll drop one ore type. As you can see here, this is aluminum ore. So we know that if we put these extractors here, and we have extractors running, they'll produce aluminum ore, coal, and small stone. So that's what we can find at these sites. And that's how you identify. Each site is the same way, so if you go to each one of these and you don't want to look up a map that people have made showing what each ore type is at each one, you can just go there, smash the large boulders, and then it'll tell you what you're going to find there. Tip number 7 is going to be fishing. And yes, I know most people know how to fish, but we're going to go over one quick tip about fishing. So to fish, you're going to need a spear. You also need to watch the top left where it shows your oxygen. If you run out of oxygen, you'll start taking damage. You'll die eventually. So if you swim into a pond or water source, you'll see these fish swimming around. If you spear them with your spear, they'll be on the tip of the spear, as you can see here. Once they're there, just press E, and it'll put the fish into your inventory. So it's E as in echo. So you can just swim around. If you get lucky and there's 2 or 3 fish nearby and you spear them all, you can just keep pressing E to collect them. And like I said, they'll go straight into your inventory until your inventory is maxed out. Tip number 8 is going to be making biofuel. The best way to make biofuel, in my opinion, if you don't have a large garden or somewhere where you're producing a ton of crops, is to just get you a couple of chests laid out, make sure they're empty. Do some fishing. There's always fish in the nearby ponds. There's a few places for them in the rivers. You'll just throw them on the ground like you always do, and then harvest them. Fish give you anywhere from 1 to 3 pieces of raw fish. Then you'll take that, go to your chest, and just deposit that and any extra meat you have, and just let it go bad. So once that's all in the chest, you can make a couple of chests full of these. That'll give you plenty of biofuel to run your extractors and anything else that you need while you're still using biofuel before you get the fuel pumps and the oil pumps. And that's the fastest way to make biofuel. Like I said, you can fill that up. That'll give you 40 pieces of biofuel. Okay guys, tip number 9 is going to be the animals bleed out. So if you're trying to chase down a deer or a sheep, you don't land that headshot. Say you just shoot him. You saw we just made a hit. We can follow him, and in a minute you'll see him drop. So it's a good way to kill animals that do take bleed damage, even if you can't land enough hits to kill them in the first round, which most things die with just one headshot. So this deer should drop any second. There he goes. And we can get an arrow back and collect the meat off of them if we want it. Tip number 10, if you can't make a tool or a weapon and you're trying, like you're at the craft bench, you're trying to make one just in your inventory on your personal crafting bench here. Like say you once, say we put a stick and a stone on there, that gives us a stone axe, right? And we try to craft it, nothing happens. So what do? Go up here, look at the dual battle axes in the top left, and you look at your slots here in your backpack. You can only hold 4 tools at a time, or 4 weapons, or a combination of either or. If these slots are all full, you cannot craft or pick up any weapons or tools. So either you need to drop it on the ground or build you a weapons rack and then put that tool there. Then you can craft the item that you're trying to make. So we'll do the stick and the stone again. That'll give us an axe, and bam. It'll go into slot 1 where we just took out the other axe. So if you can't craft a tool or weapon, that is what's going on there. If you have checked to make sure that you have the right recipe. If you have open slots, it means you're missing something, or you need to craft it on a different workbench. And you can always look at that under Itempedia at the different weapons. Like the katana can only be made on the anvil. It can't be crafted on you or these workbenches. You'll have to actually go to an anvil and craft it. Alright, so that's one of the most asked questions I get in Discord and Steam and on YouTube is why can't you craft a weapon or tool? And that's why. Okay guys, tip number 11 is going to be make sure that you have gathered and planted plants before winter gets here. If not, at least make sure that you have a bunch of seeds ready. The best thing to do is to get you a greenhouse. As you see here, I've got quite a few. I mean, this is my big save game, so I have tons of these. And you're going to want to plant these before winter because the plants, like your melons, watermelons, cucumbers, no vegetation grows in wintertime. So it's going to be up to you to have these planted in order to get carbs, vitamins, and everything else. They need to be in a space that you can either heat and warm, so either a completely enclosed house to include built windows, doors, fully sealed where it's not on the ground. It needs to be on foundations, walls with a full roof. And then you'll need heat sources inside that are burning constantly to keep the building at a certain temperature. So as you can see right now, if you look in the top right of my screen, it is currently 22.4 degrees Celsius. If you walk inside a greenhouse, it is always 23 degrees. So these plants will not die in the winter. So if you want to build one of these as fast as you can, I believe it should be possible in the early stages. It's under placeables, others, and it's right here. You need nails, planks, copper, and glass. So you should be able to build that fairly quickly. I would focus on that like as soon as you start before winter gets here, and then plant all your seeds, build your plant boxes, and build you a wide variety, because you probably might only be able to get one of these built before the first winter comes. It's also a nice place to hide if you're in a blizzard, because it'll keep you warm without having to run a heat source. But anyways, that is going to be tip number 11 again, and that is to make sure that you plant plants. So keep all your seeds before winter gets here. Tip number 12 is if you need to get water in the wintertime, if you look at your water sources, they'll be frozen over. So we'll head over here. As you can see, all water, rivers, oceans, and ponds are frozen. So if you need to get water, just look down at this white stuff right here. It's called snow. Take your flask or canteen, whatever you have on you. This one's currently full, so we'll hit a drink on that. And then you'll just drag it over here and add snow. And then you'll get dirty water. So in that case, we got 200 dirty water. Then you go back to your fire, and you'll just boil it like you would any other water. And you just dump it in your bucket, light it on fire. Bam, and you'll get fresh water. Tip number 13. Make sure that you always have a heat source ready for winter. As you see, it's snowing outside right now, so it's actually a blizzard, so it's negative 35 right now. If you do not have a heat source ready, you'll start freezing. You also want to make sure you have an enclosed building. As you see right now, even though we're inside the building, we're freezing. So here we have a coal heater. These only take coal, so go ahead and put a piece of coal in there. Light it on fire. It can warm this space. If you have your winter clothing on, it'll overheat you. And if you watch, the freezing thing will go down in just a second. We're no longer taking freezing damage. You'll have to stay close to that. If you have plants inside of a building instead of a greenhouse, you'll have to have the heat source on for them as well. And they'll have to be within the radius of that heat source. And the radius is different for everything. I'm not going to break that down right here. We can make a video on that later if y'all have questions. Pretty much just keep a building small. Put your heat source in there. You're probably going to want one of these for plants because it'll last a long time. Otherwise, you can use your forges. These are the larger forges. They'll keep you warm. The smaller ones will do the same thing. A stove will also keep you warm, and fires can keep you warm as long as you're inside of a building. Now, these I don't believe you can place on a foundation, so I would not count on that. There is a way to rig it up to work. But pretty much just use your forges, coal heaters, and stoves to stay warm during a blizzard and wintertime. Tip number 14 is you have a weight limit. So if you look in the lower right of my screen above health, you'll see weight there. It's 39.2 currently out of 75. You do not start with 75. 75 is when you get the upgraded backpack. So initially to carry more weight, because if you get over 75 pounds, you can't run and you'll move super slow. You're going to want to either use the chest, so you can press N as in November, and you can pick up a chest and walk around with it. You can put as much stuff in there as you can fit. There's no weight limit, and it does not carry over to your character. So when you start off, that might be the best way for you to move around a bunch of materials at once. Or once you upgrade and get farther into the game and you get a log cart, you can put 2 chests on it. Again, no weight limit there, just as much as you can put in there. And then later on, you can get the truck. You can stack the chest pretty much as high as you want, as long as you get creative with it. And you can haul as much stuff as you want in the truck, as you can see here. Tip number 15, you're going to make sure you build a bed early on, wherever your base is at. When you look at your bed, you can press E to sleep in it, and it'll pull up this screen here, and then just hit wake up. Also, the main thing to note about the bed is you want to use the right mouse button to mark it as your spawn point. So if you look down in the lower left, you'll see that it now, after I clicked with the right mouse button, says that my spawn point is enabled. So if you're like me and you have bases all over the map, like I have multiple bases pretty much everywhere you see a red dot, I have a bed at each one of those locations, so if I'm working in that area, I'll go to that specific bed, I'll right click and mark that as my spawn point. Tip number 16, so if you lose hit points, you start off, I believe, with 100 hit points. If you die, you can go as low as 50. You lose 5 every time you die. The way to get those back up is to make meat stew. So to do that, you're going to need 1 fish, or 1 piece of raw fish, 1 piece of raw meat. You're going to need 1 potato, 1 onion, you'd also need to have a food prep table. Go to that, add 1 of each. That is going to allow you to make stew mix. With stew mix, you're going to have to go to a stove, and you're going to have a pan. All I have here are pots right now. Let's see, we can make a pan really quick. Add the pan. Add your stew mix. Add your fuel source. Then light it. This will cook. It'll become meat stew. I can show you that in here while that's cooking. So if you go to Itempedia, food and drinks, and then you come over here to meat stew, you'll see where it says it adds +1 to your max health when consumed. So if we were below 300, 300 is your maximum hit points total if you've raised it all the way up. Same thing for your stamina. Your other stats can go up to 200. And then once that's done, you'll just eat it, and it'll give you all the stats that you need. And it'll help you to regain your maximum hit points. Tip number 17 is moving stuff from your inventory into other areas, such as forges, chests, and onto your workbenches. So here we have stacks of iron fragments. If you hold down the Alt key and you click with the right mouse button, you'll move 1 item at a time. If you hold down Shift and you click with the right mouse button, you'll move an entire stack. If you hold Shift and drag with the left mouse button, you can use your slider to select the size of, or the amount of items you want to move over. And this also carries over, like I said, to the forges. So if you're making glass or you're using fragments to make iron ingots, just hold down the Shift key and right mouse button and it'll move it over. And then you can pick it back up. Well, you can't pick these back up that way from here, but you can pick up the iron ingots if you right click. Do an Alt right click. And that, like I said, that works on chests. It works on your crafting benches. So that was a Shift, right mouse button, Alt right mouse button, you can move 1 at a time. And that's how you quickly move things. And then at the same time, we can also go over this. So if you wanted to take, I don't want to do it from this chest because it's a lot. So if we wanted to take all this coal out of this chest, if we wanted to take all the items off of a forge, you would use these arrow keys for take all. Same thing with this chest. So we've got the coal here, we can just do a take all. It'll move it all into our inventory. And then we can just hold down Alt and we can use the right mouse button and move it all back into the chest. Alright, so tip 18 is going to be when searching Vambi villages, if you're looking for blueprints, you'll find 2 per village. Your villages, you can see them on the map. They're going to be these little white specks you see, and these little black dots too. Those are villages. So we're currently at one right now, and they're scattered across the map. So if you go into these houses and you clear them, once you get done going through it and searching it, you'll find all kinds of good loot in here. Like we just got a splint right there. We can turn the flashlight on by pressing L if you need to see. And you'll find cans and all kinds of things laying around. Blueprints will be on shelves, tables. Like I said, there's loot everywhere. We've got electronic parts right here, fish oil. So once we finish clearing that building out, the way I like to do it and the way I advise anybody else to do it for tips, for a great tip, is say you just cleared this house, you didn't find any blueprints. Personally, I put down fences when I don't find blueprints in it. And I've got build mode engaged right now because I'm going to go over foundations as far as spacing for water and stuff in a minute. So you'll just set that out and you'll get a template for that. And as you can see here, I've cleared this whole village. I've got videos on that if somebody wants to see clearing each and every single village to find the blueprints and how I went about it. I put fences in front of the ones, as I said, that I did not find blueprints in. But when I do find a blueprint, I like to use a different build template so that I know I can go back to that village, and I, like as you can see right now, I can just run through here. But okay, no blueprint in that house, no blueprint in that house. And then I come over here and I see like these shelters. So this means that I found a blueprint inside of this house. If some people like to open doors and leave that as a marker, the problem with opening doors is that when you reload into a game after you've saved and left the game, the doors will all close. So I don't advise doing that unless you know for a fact you're going to clear that village and you're going to find everything before you leave. So if you find a blueprint there, mark it with one of these. That'll help you keep count in case you can't find it in that village. You can always come back, just make a note somewhere. Hey, that's, this village I only found one blueprint. I'm going to come back. Or I found no blueprints. I'm going to come back. And then you can go search the other ones if you're just looking for specific things that you're trying to build. And then that way when you come back to this village, you'll know which houses you've cleared and found blueprints in and which ones you didn't. So you'd know, hey, I don't need to research this house. I'll go research one of these other ones that I've marked with like a fence or a gate or whatever blueprint you want to use. Alright, so tip number 19. The villages do respawn loot. It takes 10 in-game days. So if I was to loot this entire village again, I wouldn't have loot here again until day 387. And you'd need to save your game and log out, then log back in, and all the loot will be back into this village so that you can loot it once more. Tip number 20. If you're building a really big building like this one that I'm currently in, and you need to build, say like right there's 3 ceiling pieces, but you don't want to haul a bunch of materials to build a bunch of floors to keep building up when you can't reach anything anymore, you can put down these wood ceiling pieces. So we'll press E right here. And this build template you can actually walk on. Now if you save the game and leave it and then you come back in, you will not be able to walk on this. You'll just fall right through it. So as long as you don't save and leave the game, you can walk on these. So that'll help you build your higher structures and reach higher areas without having to haul a bunch of materials and build a bunch of things that you're just going to have to demolish later on. Now you will have to build the stairs. You can't walk on those templates, but these are good if you just want to build like one staircase and then you can walk around the wall and build up the ceilings or the higher level walls like I did up there. Tip number 21 is to let you know there is no distance limitation on power. So this light's currently being powered. If you walk into here, you can see we have tons of batteries. If we go upstairs, sorry, we're getting ready for a power upgrade project here, so we've got all these iron ingots here. You can see that I have a bunch of solar panels up here. But if we come over here, you can see that that tower is currently powered with light. Our workshop building over there is powered with lights. These houses all have lights in them in this village that I've built. If we were to go across the map to this base, we have power and lights there, and it's all coming from here. And like I said, there is no distance limitation on power. So if you build power here or power over here, it'll carry across to anywhere else you build to put up lamps or any other type of power source items. Tip number 22, it's going to be about the Waterhouse. Once you get enough power and you've got the research, you can build these little bitty houses like this. It's a placeable item. It's movable, so you can move it after it's built. They have a distance limitation of 24.5 foundations. So if you build sinks and you have these nearby or a greenhouse nearby these will auto water the greenhouses, and it will allow you to get fresh water from the sinks. However, like I said, the distance limitation is 24.5 foundations. So we built one there so that we could have a sink upstairs next to our greenhouse and kitchen area. We have sinks in all of these houses. So if we ever need to get fresh water, we can just come to these. You just drag your flask or canteen over to it. We'll get clean water. But the Waterhouse that's feeding this is located here, and it covers this entire village. But as you can see, everything's within 25 foundations of that. Like these two are almost at the maximum distance. But the greenhouse is right here. It also auto waters the plants. So once you put your planters inside, you just plant them and they're automatically watered. You don't have to water them anymore with canteens or flasks. These take 100 power each. And you can see that inside of these little water boxes, or power boxes. It'll tell you how much power everything takes and is using. Alright, tip number 23. If you're building foundations and you want to build really high foundations, so we have a basic foundation right here. If you want to adjust the height on it, you'll hold X as an X-ray, and you can use the mouse wheel to go up and down with it, and it should hit a maximum height and depth. So as you see, it's red, you can't build it, but we're at the maximum height there, right? So we'll press E, it'll set it there. So if you want to go higher than that, just set your first one, go next to it, hold X again, and mouse wheel up, and you can build even higher. And you can just keep rinsing and repeating that over and over again if you're trying to reach higher depth or to get to a higher height without having to build multiple foundations that you're not going to use. So that's just for the builders that are interested in if there's like a maximum height on that. I have not researched that thoroughly to see how far and how high you can exactly build those. I just know that I'm pretty sure. Oh, I guess we hit the limit there. Or unless it's because I'm standing on, or we just can't target it because it's so far away. Yeah, I guess we can jump and try to do it. Yeah, so well, that's probably gonna be about as high as you can go in one running and without building up to it. All right, and the last tip number 24, is going to be do not jump off of high ledges. Now this should be commonplace, but if you watched my older videos, you'd see me jumping off of everything, no matter the height. That no longer applies, so this is a good tip to have. Make sure that you always have bandages on you, medicated and regular. And then always keep a splint or at least an axe on you, because you can cut down one tree to make a splint. Because if you jump off, say, this ledge here, or just walk off this one, well, it didn't work on that ledge. I know I've broken my leg off that before, so let's try it one more time. Or maybe I can find somewhere even higher. Alright, so if we jump and land, you'll get the icon you see in the lower left that we just broke a bone. We'll take damage, as you see also from my health. So if you press I, come into here, click on the little human icon at the top, the player icon, you'll see that we broke our leg. Just apply a splint to it, and you can move again. Now if your leg is broken, you'll move slow, you can't run, and yeah, it's a good way to just die. And it'll take you forever to get back across the map. But like I said, you can always cut down a tree. That will give you the plant fibers that you need, and then just harvest a log. That'll give you the sticks that you need, and you can make a splint. And like I said, guys, that's the final tip. As always, if this video has helped you out, if you like the things you see, if there's anything else you need to know, feel free to ask me. Leave comments below, questions below, hit me up in Discord. I'll get back to you as fast as I can. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe button, and let me know how I'm doing, guys, and thanks for watching.